All right, typically I ask my guests for a hot take to start the show, but Kwab's been on so often that I feel like it's only right that I return the favor and give you a hot take to start the show, and that is the New York Knicks are making the playoffs. Yes, they're making the playoffs. I am delusional right now. I have it every once in a while. I am typically a realist as a Knicks fan. They just won 2 straight games. I know the sky is falling if you're on Knicks Twitter. I know that everybody wants to blow up the team. I know everybody wants to tank, but there's one thing going on right now in the New York Knicks organization, and that is they are finding an identity. And I think that identity is going to lead them to a play-in series with a team that they're better than, maybe the Pacers, even the Hawks. Yes, I said the Atlanta Hawks, maybe the Wizards. We'll see. But all I'm saying right now is the Knicks playing game, making the playoffs. There's hope, New York. We're moving forward. All that and more next on The Dime.
You are now listening to The Dime with Josh Rodriguez, your weekly go-to podcast for all things NBA. And now, your host, Josh Rodriguez.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Dime, presented by the Ballislife Podcast Network. Who is the quarter season MVP? Are the Lakers about to right the ship? And do you believe in the Dallas Mavericks? My guests and I go over those topics, hit up NBA Twitter, and go pole dancing on the latest episode. But first, if you want to follow The Dime, you can on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Dime NBA. I'm Josh Rodriguez at Josh_Rodriguez_ if you're watching on the Balls Life Podcast Network. Welcome. You can also subscribe on Apple Podcasts. You can follow on Spotify. Make sure you give 5 stars and leave a very kind review because that helps me out. It helps the podcast out. It grows the podcast. It gets it in the algorithm, so I'm told. I don't know how this works. I've been doing this podcast for about 5 years. This is my profession. I still can't even tell you how these things work. But that's what it does. And give the video a thumbs up. Drop a comment in the YouTube comments below. And hit me up on Twitter. I might put your comment on the show. All that good stuff. But, it's time for me to introduce my guest. If you've been watching for this season or, the past few seasons, you see him pretty much all the time now. He's a rapper. He's a producer. He's one of my best friends in the world. He's practically a co-host by now. Everybody, please welcome back to The Dime. It's Kwab. Kwab, what's good, baby?
Hey, I'm back again.
You are back, baby. Let's do this. I took 2 weeks off. I was in New York. I was at my dad's, which was the house that I grew up in. Fun fact, Kwab and I tried to do an episode last week, but the acoustics were so bad and the Wi-Fi was awful. So it just didn't work out. But Kwab, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. It was actually good seeing you. A couple of days ago, actually. That's crazy, right?
It was.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Yeah,
Feels right.
Good.
It feels right.
And now we're back here again, hearing you talk about the Knicks.
That's right.
Making the playoffs.
I go to the Garden once. Look what happens. This is what happens.
You felt the energy. You're like, oh, this
felt
is
the energy. This is exactly what happened. This is exactly what happened.
You guys just beat Trae Young, so I mean that's the. You got that feeling back.
We defeated the boss of the video game. That's right. All right, Kwab. Well, I'm about to ask you something that I ask all of my best friends. Do you want to go pole dancing?
Yeah, let's do it again.
Let's do it, baby!
You know you want it. It's time to go pole dancing. Get your mind out the gutter. We're talking about Twitter polls. My goodness.
Yes, baby. Hit the music. It's time to hit the polls. I put up 3 polls on the show's Twitter account at The Dime NBA, and my followers and stray Twitter followers and stray Twitter users gave their opinion. Kwab, this one was fun. We got a lot of votes, a lot of interaction with this one. Shout out for Balls Life for retweeting the actual tweet, because that helps. You ready to do this?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. The first tweet is the announcement saying that I'm recording a new episode. So there you go. Question number 1, fill in the blank. When it comes to the Lakers, I'm buying stock or selling stock? Selling stock came in at 60.3%, while buying stock came in at 39.7%. Kwab, I'm going to ask you straight up, are you selling or buying stock with the Los Angeles Lakers?
I'm not going anywhere near this. That's why I don't.
It's rising a little bit, though. There's life.
Is there life? Or is it like a fake life? It's just then it's going to tank down again.
So my good friend and listener of the show, Michael Zacchio, actually said he's selling. This little hot streak they're on is just a dead cat bounce. A crappy stock is a crappy stock, and the Lakers stink. So that's pretty much what you're saying, right? That's what you just said.
I'm not. I didn't say that. I would never.
Yeah, but that's what you kind of saying.
I would never disparage the Laker fan base. I could never say that. I just think they're beating some teams that technically they should beat.
The Spurs 3 times.
I mean, Anthony Davis has played really well, even though like
Yeah.
he had like I guess the flu or something last game, so
Yeah.
he was out. But even watching the Cavs game where they lost, it's alarming to see how much shooting they don't have.
Yeah.
They're a really good defensive team, but like it's very alarming to see how much shooting they don't have. And unless they make a move, which everybody's been kind of beating that drum to death, like they need to make a trade.
Yeah.
It's Russell Westbrook going to get traded. I'm tired of hearing about those two freaking picks, blah blah blah. But
Right.
yeah, I'm not buying. I'm not buying this stock. I'm sorry.
You're not buying the stock. So I'm gonna buy the stock, but like listen to me. I'm gonna buy the stock knowing that it's gonna go up a little more, and then I'm gonna sell the stock. Does that make sense? Because
So
I
you
do
think-
think this team can make a little bit more of a run than what they've been making.
Okay.
And I think I can make a little bit of money off of this. Not a lot of money. Like I'm not buying and holding and expecting it to be a blue chip stock. This is a short sale right here. I'm gonna buy it for a little bit. I expect them to be a little better than they are right now. Maybe make the play in, maybe make the playoffs. And for that reason, I'm buying, but I'm short selling. You know, with me, the Lakers, it's like I can't take them as serious contenders because there's nothing consistent about them. You have the most inconsistent player in the world in Russell Westbrook. I'm sorry, Laker fans. He just is. I know he's playing well lately, but he's probably the most inconsistent player that I've ever watched in my lifetime, if I'm completely honest with you. And then LeBron and AD and their health. You know, they lost last game. They were a little bit on a winning streak, and they lost last game. It happens. But then AD and LeBron sit the next game. And now you get smacked in Toronto, and it's like, how could you get any type of momentum going? How could you get any type of chemistry going? You know, you have a little bit of a win streak going, and now all of a sudden you lost 2 in a row, and you have room to make up, some ground to make up. It's going to be very difficult to do that, and I think they will do that to some sort of extent because I do think the talent's there, and I do think they're finding something, but I don't trust them enough to be consistent enough where I consider them contenders. I mean, I see people online saying that, oh, the Lakers are for real. I've seen some other podcast hosts who I won't, docs, but like are saying that this team is a contender now, and they're not a contender at all. But I'm going to sell. Short sell.
Contender.
Some former NBA players are saying that. Let's just say that.
I think the belief in LeBron, and because there's a high belief in LeBron and AD, but I'm exactly where you're at in that. I don't know, but I'm selling.
What do you make of AD, of this renaissance of AD?
I think AD just when he's healthy, he looks great.
It's just that simple.
When he's healthy, the caveat, like when he's healthy, he looks great. Like he's playing really well. He's being dominant, but he has to stay healthy, and like that's the problem with AD. Even though like he's missed so many games, they started nicknaming him Street Clothes, which I think is terrible. But
that is bad.
But it's bad. But I don't. I'm not sure what your record is, but you're still below 500 right now. So
yeah, they were creeping up there until they lost 2 in a row.
Yeah, so I mean they could probably sneak in the play-in and then maybe the playoffs. And I guess people's idea is that if you have LeBron and AD in the playoffs, it's going to be a tough out. So
we'll see. I don't really believe that anymore, if I'm being honest with you. I don't. I mean, listen, I love LeBron. LeBron's one of my favorite players ever, but he's not, the best player in the world anymore. He might be top 10. I think you'd probably say top 10. AD's playing like a top 10 player in the world, maybe top 5 player in the world lately. But that's lately. And again, they're resting. Like, what are you doing resting? Your team needs to make up ground right now. I can't trust you being consistent. I can't trust you winning 4 out of 7 against a playoff team that's probably going to be seeded higher than you. So, no. But I'm buying for now. I'm buying for now. That will sell.
But you're buying for now.
But I'm buying for now. All right, let's move on to the next tweet or the next poll. Fill in the blank. When it comes to the Mavericks, I'm blank. Buying stock, selling stock. Coming in at 54.3%, it's buying stock, and coming in at 45.7%, it's selling stock. So I'm surprised at this. I thought people would be selling stock for the Dallas Mavericks, but the majority of my Twitter followers, of stray Twitter users, said that they're going to buy stock in the Dallas Mavericks today. They have won 3 in a row. They looked really impressive against my Knicks, which isn't saying much. They beat the Nuggets in a 1-point game. Dorian Finney-Smith with a huge 3-pointer. Kwab, buying stock, selling stock. What do you think?
Losing Jalen Brunson was such a big, it was a bigger deal than they made it out to seem like, because they were like, oh, we got Christian Wood and we have Tim Hardaway Jr. coming back.
Right.
So, the offense is not going to be that bad. But, and a lot of other people have mentioned this, apart from Luka and Spencer Dinwiddie, it feels like there's nobody else who you can kind of give the ball to and be like, yeah, make something happen. And Spencer has like been able to fill his role like as he was supposed to, but you're missing that piece in Jalen Brunson. I mean, they I guess they're trying to find something by signing Kemba Walker. I'm glad Kemba's back in the league, but it's like we all saw how he looked on the Knicks, and he wasn't exactly Kemba Walker. So, and it's when you watch the Mavs, it's Luka ball. Like
Luka Ball.
that's all. It really it really does look like. And some people have mentioned this too, but it reminds me of when Harden was on the Rockets. It was like if the ball doesn't go to James Harden and he doesn't score or create, I don't know who's gonna make something happen. It feels like there's no secondary. There's no like, and he plays really slow. He brings up the ball. That's the one thing when Jalen Brunson was there, was different. He would, Jason Kidd would tell him to push the ball a little bit, putting the ball in their hands. So I'm selling. I'm selling. Yeah, I'm selling with the Cubs right now. I don't know.
Guess what I'm doing, baby?
You're buying. I know you're buying.
I'm buying stock, and it's not because so much of the Mavericks. It's because I don't really like anyone in front of them. Utah, I don't really like, well, for obvious reasons. They're not going to stick around long. They're trying to tank, or at least Danny Ainge thought he was trying to tank. And I think by the end of the season, they'll probably be 500, maybe a play-in team. So I put them in front of Utah. Denver, they just beat Denver. They've won 2 out of 3 against Denver. Denver to me is another team that's kind of feels stale this year. I'm not a big believer in Denver this year. I like Jokic, I like Murray, but they seem like they've hit their head on the ceiling a bunch of times and just can't get over the fact that they'll never break through the ceiling. It's like they keep jumping on the bed and hitting their head on the ceiling, thinking there's a higher ceiling or that they'll go through the ceiling. Denver's never going through that ceiling. Stop jumping on the bed.
Nah, keep
Switch it up a little bit.
No.
Stop it. So I'm taking the Mavericks over Denver. And then Sacramento right now is the 5 seed. Listen, fantastic story. Loves the story with the beam. Love the Kings. They're very fun, but they play no defense. And I think with an 82-game season, that's going to catch up to them a little bit. I do think they'll probably make the playoffs, maybe slip to the play-in, but I can't see them finishing better than the Dallas Mavericks or a team led by Luka that at least knows who they are, right? It's not like the Mavs have an identity crisis. They know exactly what's going on with them. They know what's wrong, and they know what they need to do to fix it. And I think Mark Cuban's going to make those moves at the deadline. So I'm going to buy stock because I believe in Cuban's ability to actually address the issue, not in the sense where I think he can win a championship, but enough where it's like, okay, it's not just going to be Spencer Dinwiddie and Luka. And, the West being the West right now, I just can't see too many teams I would put above them. The Warriors are probably going to creep back up. But aside from that, like, who's really going to be better than the Dallas Mavericks at the end of the 82 games? That's ahead of them right now. Aside from, the big dogs, the Suns, and even the Grizzlies and the Pelicans, too. I can make the case that, like, might be a little
okay, but overrated. My counter to that is, like, the amount of usage that Luka is dealing with right now.
Yeah.
He looks exhausted most games.
Yeah, he does.
God, like, knock on wood, God forbid, he ends up getting injured. What happens? Because of all the teams you named above them, if they lose their primary like star or scorer, they still have other players built in place that can carry the team to wins. And last year it was even the Jazz series. It was Jalen Brunson and Spencer Dinwiddie going to town on Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, with Luka out, they won a few games in the first round. Yeah.
Now it's like if Luka's out, where do you get that from? That's been my concern watching the Mavs the whole time. Like, he looks great, and every game is close. That's
true. That's true.
Which is great watch. It's a great watch. Like, as a fan, you're like, yo, this is great basketball. Like, oh, I get close games, clutch plays, but it's like, bro,
every game against the Pistons. One possession game. Against the Magic, one possession game.
Like
against the Dallas High School City for the Deaf, one possession game.
That's rough.
That's true, though. You're right.
Yeah, it's true. Close. That's rough. Like, that's crazy. So that's my concern. That's why I'm selling. I'm selling, bro. I know you're buying. Of course, you're buying.
I'm buying. I'm a gambler. Let's move on to question number 3. Trae Young missing a game after the dispute with Nate McMillian is blank. No big deal, or the beginning of the end. Coming in at 65.8%, it's the beginning of the end. Coming in at 34.2%, it's no big deal. Kwab, Trae Young missing a game after a dispute with Nate McMillian is what?
It's no big deal until the media found out and because overblown. That's an exclusive issue. What's crazy about this is that and I've had this perspective since, like, especially this season. A lot of these things that used to happen back in the day, because stuff like this, and some NBA players have said it, stuff like this used to happen.
Stuff like your star player getting in a fight with a coach and then just not showing up to the next game used to happen.
Yes.
When did that happen?
Yes, but you wouldn't know about it because it would just be ruled out as it was for Trae. It was like, oh, he's out for, it's just a shoulder situation. No big deal.
Are you sure?
Now, because everything needs to be reported or leaked
or tweeted,
we know everything. Players talk in the past where, like, they used to, back in the I think it was the Spurs, for example, they would rest players, and they would just be like, oh, he has an ankle tweak, and it would just go unnoticed, and nobody would talk about, oh, they're resting players, and it wouldn't be a big deal. Now it's just because we need to know every single information. They were both Trae and both Nate McMillian were mad that it just got out. They were like, oh,
well, yeah, because it makes them look bad.
Exactly. Same thing, and the reason why I'm saying is, like, same thing with the Draymond punch. No, like, go ahead.
Let's look at the Warriors now. It's not like the Warriors having a great season.
Well, that's a whole other thing. But that's because it was a big cloud over their head. It was like, oh, Draymond, there was a dispute, blah, blah, blah. Then we saw the video.
I get it. I get what you're saying, and there is validity to what you're saying, and I don't want to, like, dismiss that.
But dismiss it.
But I'm going to dismiss it. We disagreed on every single poll.
But dismiss it.
But I'm going to dismiss the shit out of this. Listen, if your star player is angry enough at your coach to not show up for a game, that's a big deal. Your star player has to be in lockstep with your coach. Your point guard especially is an extension of the coach on the floor, period. Now, if they're not on the same page, if they're beefing, if they don't see eye to eye, that's not good. I don't know. That's not something that's not a big deal. I'm sorry. That's a huge deal.
It's not big.
You know, not in a sense where I think the Hawks season is over or that, you know, they can't rebound from this, but something has to be done. There has to be some type of conflict resolution. And to me, this automatically puts Nate McMillian on the hot seat, not because of the job that he's doing or not doing, but if the star player is not happy with you and is fighting with you, your job is on the line, period.
My point was that does this become, like, Nate McMillian the hot seat this much of an issue if the story came out?
Yeah, well, it's not an issue that we know of, right? Like, the public's not talking about it. It's not on these debate shows. It's not on the dime. But internally, it's absolutely a big deal. But if I'm the GM or the president of the Hawks, and I know that Trae Young's not showing up to a game because he's disagreeing with the coach and got into dispute with the coach, in my mind, I'm thinking, do I need a new coach? Yes, absolutely. It's a huge deal. This is a big deal.
But if there's an issue where you can take care of that internally,
how do you take care of it, Kwab?
As opposed to hearing every like you just said, all these people talking about it, and you also getting the pressure from outside, the noise from outside every time during interviews. That makes it more of a bigger issue.
But how do you take care of it internally? Like, that's
you have a meeting, because to me, after looking over things, it's a communication issue. It's not something you don't think, and that's something that they could have sat down and actually talked about and addressed.
I don't know how serious the dispute was, but it was serious enough where Trae Young decided not to play in a basketball game. When your leader of the team said, "Nah, I'm not doing this right now."
Nah,
that's a big deal.
I'm gonna stay home. Nah.
Yeah, come on. You're supposed to show up for your teammates every game, and that's not me like knocking Trae. That's me saying that if he were to stay home, it was something. It was something for him to get into dispute with his coach and to be like, you know what, F that. I'm not showing up next game. What are you gonna do about it?
I'm not
That's
saying
something.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's nothing and it's like, oh, it's going to be glossed over. I'm saying that this could have been handled internally if whoever leaked out the story to who I think was Shams or whoever who gets.
I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? It could have been taken care of internally, because if he was going to be disciplined or like fined, they could have done that behind closed doors, taken care of that and tried moving forward. Now, every time they lose a game, every time you see Trae Young pout, every time you see Nate McMillian maybe call like a brash timeout and look at Trae, you're like, uh-oh.
But isn't that kind of going on anyway? Like whether the public knew it or not? I get what you're saying, but the whole like let them handle it internally thing, just because it's not out there in the open doesn't mean that it's going to be handled internally. Just because a couple fights behind closed doors doesn't mean they're going to solve their issues. That's my point. Some couples fight on social media. Some couples go to war on social media, and you see it happen. And yes, it exacerbates things. But some couples fight behind closed doors. And sometimes those couples that fight behind closed doors, they don't fix their issues. Just because they keep it internal doesn't mean they fix their issues.
But some do. But some do, and you would never know they had issues because they didn't go out and blast it on social media. They didn't go out and just be like, yo, we're boxing. We're in here boxing. So you know.
And then when the couples who do blast on social media do solve their issues, nobody believes. Nobody believes.
It's like, oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, you guys are great. Yeah, give it 2 weeks.
Give it 2 weeks.
We're gonna be cursing each other out on Twitter.
Right back at it. This is what they do. It's a pattern.
And then 2 weeks later, Instagram picture of them, a collaboration. Me and my baby, so happy to be with my baby. He's my favorite person.
We're not talking about anybody specific, guys.
No, we're not.
This
sounds like oddly passive aggressive towards anyone, and it's not. I'm sorry.
It is.
I'm not thinking of anybody right now. All right, let's end the pole dancing segment. Let's move on to just general headlines around the league. I want to start in New York because I'm selfish. Knicks and Cam Reddish agreed to seek a trade. Now, I know you're a Brooklyn fan, but you do keep in touch with the Knicks and, of course, the NBA. That's why I have you on the podcast. Kwab, what do you think went wrong here? Why do you think Cam Reddish I wouldn't say had an unsuccessful time in New York. I think that'd be unfair to Cam, but why do you think just the marriage didn't work out?
I don't know. I don't think, in your opinion, right, did he really get an opportunity just to, like, a chance to really show his game and get consistent playing time? Because it always felt like he was just a placeholder until, like, Quentin Grimes gets healthy.
Yeah, I didn't get that feeling until like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
You are right. He was a placeholder until Quentin Grimes gets healthy. And I love Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes might be my favorite Knick. But I also do believe that there's a world where Cam and Quentin Grimes get major minutes too. Just because I like Quentin Grimes doesn't mean I don't want Cam to be successful. And it doesn't mean I don't want Cam to get minutes. And honestly, it doesn't even, if Cam was to start over Quentin Grimes, it wouldn't bother me.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest with you, I don't think that Cam got a fair shot here. You know, he was put in the starting lineup early this year with mixed results. If you talk to the Cam Hive on Knicks Twitter, they would convince you that he was freaking Paul George when he got those starting minutes, and he wasn't. He had some really good games, and he had some very pedestrian games and some inconsistent games. It was a mixed bag with Cam Reddish, and that's what he's been his whole career. It's a mixed bag. You see the potential, and you're like, wow, that guy can be really good. And then you see other games where he's literally throwing the ball over his head, trying to draw a foul, and it looks terrible. You know, for the most part, though, to defend Cam, I think there was more good than bad this year, and he was a spark that ignited some of our victories and some of our biggest victories of the year. And I think that the way that Tibbs specifically is doing it right now is wrong. I don't think it's right. I think this is someone who came into the starting lineup and was a little bit of a jolt of energy, and he got hurt, and Quentin Grimes was healthy, got inserted back into the lineup. And just because you want Quentin Grimes starting doesn't mean you can't give Cam minutes. And that's what's kind of bothering me. I don't think that Thibodeau ever gave Cam a proper opportunity. He didn't even want him here. He came over in a trade and he didn't play right away. And people were like, what was the point of the trade? I was happy when we got Cam, and I'm still happy that he was on the Knicks. I'm saying it in past tense because I feel like he's played his last game with the Knicks. I don't think he's gonna, see the floor again for the Knicks unless something drastic happens with injuries. It's a shame. It really is a shame because I think there's talent there, and I think he just needs the right opportunity in the right spot. And Tibbs wasn't the right coach for him, and New York wasn't the right area for him, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think Cam is like the definition of, I always say this, of potential. Like when people talk about potential, like his ceiling seems, every time you watch him play, you're like, wow, there's some stuff he does that I get the Paul George Paul George comparison. Like there are times I'm like, okay, I kind of see it, but then he's so inconsistent at times, like it's frustrating. I don't know exactly what Tibbs was looking for from him, because
same. Like he gave you defense. Tibbs loves defense.
So I'm like, what is Tibbs looking for? Or it's just that he doesn't have Tibbs. Like when Tibbs trusts you, you can tell. You can tell when a player has Tibbs trust, because like you can do no wrong in his eyes if it was playing bad. And I don't think Cam got that opportunity. So it stinks. But what I think is more crazy is that seeing the news about he seeking a trade, they were like, oh, they're going to try to attach Evan Fournier to get rid of Evan Fournier's contract. I was like, okay, that makes sense. But then I sort of like, oh, they might try to attach Derrick Rose or Quickly. I'm like,
yeah.
And I had like, I'm like, really, Derrick Rose though?
There's no use for Derrick right now.
But that's
no use for.
That's his boy. That would be a shock. That
turn his back.
Me.
There was an article with Tibbs saying that he doesn't want to get married and have a family because he's so committed to his work. And I get it. If this guy were to have kids, he would have favorites. He would have people living in a mansion. He would have people living in the most beautiful bedroom. And then he would have 3 kids living in a garage, feeding them scraps after dinner because they're not his favorites. That's Tibbs.
Telling them
that's why Tibbs doesn't have a family. That's why Tibbs does not want children, because he plays favorites. And Cam Reddish is not a favorite of Tibbs. He's just not.
He's not.
You know, he never wanted him. Cam is a child that Tibbs never wanted. I'm taking it there. But it's true, man. You know, and I like Tibbs as a coach. I think that he's a little disrespected by the average Knick fan. And I think a lot of it has to do with his rotations and, you know, who he decides to play. There's a big Obi hive as well, where people, especially in the beginning of the season, wanted Obi to start over Julius Randle, which to me, I like Obi, but that's one of the most ridiculous Knick fan takes, I think, out there.
Yeah.
The other being that Cam Reddish is the best player on the Knicks, which is a take. Is a take, ladies and gentlemen.
Crazy. I just think they're like, he's just with Tibbs. He's just so like stuck to like, these are my rotations.
He's stubborn.
That's the right word, stubborn. I just remember there was a game I think against, I want to say the Sixers, and I thought that he should have played Obi and Julius together, or at least started them, just because the Sixers were small.
They finished that game with Obi and Julius, and they won. They came back and won that game.
Yeah. And I was like, they should have started out that way. But Tibbs was like, nah, he's going big. And I'm like, that's who Tibbs is. Tibbs is going stuck in his ways. So
yeah, Tibbs just like I understand rim protection. That's why you got Mitchell Robinson, but then you have like Isaiah Hartenstein, who's not a rim protector by any means. I know he's big, but I wouldn't consider him like an A+ rim protector on defense. But he does have other skills that you can use, especially on the offensive end. But all he does with Isaiah, you know, is wanting him to play the paint, and then on the offensive end, just kind of use him for screens. But, you know, Isaiah can pass the ball. You can give Isaiah the ball at the top of the key and have him pass and make plays and use him in the pick and roll as kind of like a quasi playmaker. But Tibbs doesn't do that. Isaiah can shoot the 3. How many threes has Isaiah shot this year? I don't know, but he should be shooting at least 1 or 2 a game.
Yeah.
If Isaiah gets in the game, I want to see him shoot a 3 or 2. So, you know, he just doesn't utilize his players and doesn't maximize their abilities. He likes players he can put into a box. And I think Quentin Grimes is someone you can perfectly put into a box because he's a spot-up shooter from 3. His defensive talents are very, you know, they're very obvious when you watch him play. Yeah. And he's also someone who doesn't really need the basketball to shine. Like, he gets the ball, he's either going to shoot or he's going to attack the basket right away. He doesn't overcomplicate things. He doesn't hold the ball. He's very uncomplicated, whereas Cam, I feel, is very complicated, and that just kind of turns Tibbs off.
Do you think that Tibbs makes it through the season?
Yes.
Okay.
I do. Oh. I do. Because I think the Knicks are making the playoffs, remember?
Oh, yeah, yes. You did say that. My fault, brother.
All right, let's move on to the next topic. It's the MVP race, quarter season MVP. We talked about this. We had a conversation about this. Now we're bringing it to the dime. Giannis right now is a slight favorite to an MVP. I think Jayson Tatum might be creeping up and actually might have overtaken him by today. I just didn't change the graphic. But I want to ask you, who's your quarter season MVP, Kwab?
Kevin Durant.
I'm going to ask you again, who was your quarter season MVP, Kwab?
Oh, no bias. It's Tatum. I think it's Tatum. I think we're at the point. Giannis has been putting up MVP numbers since the season started, and if you really like look at it, by the end of the season, like, he probably should win it. But I feel like people are so. He's at that point where LeBron was at, where like people are just so bored of like how consistent he is.
Yeah.
How great, they look at his numbers. They're like, oh yeah, he just did like 30, 15. 6'4", whatever.
No big deal.
No big deal.
I went to the Knicks-Bucks game. He had 37 and 14 or something like that. And me and my friend Larry, one of my best friends, we turned to each other like, Giannis hasn't played well today. he had 37 fucking points. Like, what?
And you're just like,
He hasn't played well.
He didn't look that good.
Played well.
Yeah.
Yeah. We both said at the same time, like, man, Giannis does not look like he played well today, and he had 37.
And you look up, you're like, wild. And that's what LeBron used to do, where you'd be like, hey, he's not having a good game, and you look up, he has like close to a triple double. You're like, yo, what has happened? And and everybody's just kind of, I don't want to say undervalued, but like, I feel like he doesn't get the same respect other players get. I feel like it's been that for a couple of years, because everybody just says all he does is run and dunk. So
it's true though. Listen, I agree with you, by the way. Yeah. This is the first time we're agreeing on the show, on this special specifically. I think Jayson Tatum right now is the MVP. Okay. I think he is. I think they're trying like hell to give it to Luka, but I think right now.
Thank you. Somebody else, thank you. They've been trying to give Luka the MVP for like 2-3 years now. That's a whole.
They try.
I don't want to do a rant. They've been trying, boy. Boy, have they been trying. They've like
trying really hard.
They've been trying really hard. Like, yo, Luka MVP.
They try really hard, and when the Mavs win like 5 in a row right now, you're gonna see it. It's gonna start already. It's gonna start. I mean, Luka does have 5 40-point triple doubles this season, while the rest of the league has none. So that's a stat right there. His stats are unbelievable.
The Mavs have been losing, and people are like, man, is Luka still the MVP? Like, we're not counting on winning. We don't care about winning.
The Dallas Mavericks losers is 15 of 17, but Luka Doncic averaging 38 points, 12 assists, and 12 rebounds. Is he your MVP?
He might be the MVP. Define most valuable player.
Right. Well, like I was saying, I do think Jayson Tatum's the MVP right now, but listen, do not get it twisted. If Giannis had Jayson Tatum's bag, if we saw Giannis step back three, if we saw Giannis take spin, fade away, if we saw Giannis through the leg, step back, if we saw Giannis reverse layup, if we saw that with the same exact stats he had, Giannis would be your MVP.
Stop.
Giannis would be every single person under 18's favorite basketball player. Giannis would be in the discussion of greatest basketball player of all time already. Giannis Antetokounmpo would be more respected. It just is what it is, and it's an aesthetic thing. That's all it is. Giannis is unbelievable. His numbers are crazy, and his effect on the defensive end, which Jayson Tatum, who has gotten better, still doesn't have. Let's not forget about that. There's two sides of the ball, and Giannis is arguably the best defender in the league as well. Combine that with the bag of Jayson Tatum and his effectiveness, forget it. Forget it, man.
What was that saying from the Uncle Drew commercials? It was like, the game has always been about getting buckets.
Yes.
Right? Why do people care how you get buckets if you're getting buckets? I get the appeal, the look of it. If somebody taking a sidestep crossover jumper, it's 2 points. So you want Giannis to stop going to the rim and putting people in the basket to take contested tough shots? Like, I don't understand that argument, that part about that. Like, I
don't even think that it even lies in the fact where it's conscious with a lot of people. I think that a lot of times people, when thinking about their best players in their head, I think their mind just kind of goes to an aesthetically pleasing spot where it's like, well, this person's game looks good. This person's game looks good. I think a lot of times that hurts LeBron in the greatest player of all time argument. Like, Jordan's game was way more aesthetically pleasing than LeBron. I think LeBron in the half court is very chunky and very like robotic. And this little move he has is like, he has like the weirdest like go-to moves, man. The one when he rolls the ball off his hand, it's like, you're not catching. He looks at it. He looks at it. He does the Booker T with a basketball, and everybody knows that LeBron's about to shoot the three, but it goes in. It's like
that's the most powerful move in basketball.
Yeah. But if LeBron's game was more aesthetically pleasing, I do think that he would have some of the people arguing Jordan for LeBron. Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. I honestly think it's an unconscious thing with a lot of people. I don't think it's a really conscious thing. I think, like I said, I saw Giannis play. He had 37, and me and my boy Larry are like, it didn't feel like he had 37. It actually didn't feel like he played well at all. But if that 37 involved him shimmy, fade away, step back three, embarrassing some people, maybe I would have felt different.
I think part of it also has to do with Giannis came into the league as a small forward. And everybody's like, I guess, a profile viewpoint of like a small forward, just like, or top small forward, just like a KD or like a LeBron, like, and then he eventually, right now, he's not really, he just transitioned to like more of a big man, like a 4-5.
He's like a hybrid. Yeah.
He makes, like, to me, he makes no sense. So I've always been a fan of like what he does, because my argument is when people talk about, well, all he does is he's just tall and all he does is run and dunk. I'm like, well, if it's so easy, why doesn't everybody else that's his height and his build do it?
In the history of the NBA, he's not the first. Exactly. Like, there have been many 7-footers who haven't done what he's done. Period.
Players have been drafted after him that people were like, oh, he has this Bruno Caboclo was drafted after him, like, just because he had this. And where's that guy?
I've never even heard of him.
Yeah. 2 years from being 2 years away or whatever.
Bruno who? What?
Yes.
That sounds like a random ancestor I found on Ancestry.com like 3 generations ago. What a name.
The fans will know it.
Okay. All right.
Don't know the name.
All right. Let's move on, Kwab. Let's finish this show by hitting up NBA Twitter.
Did you just? I can't believe. Yes, you really tweeted that out. NBA Twitter, you are undefeated.
Yes, let's hit the dark alley down the street. Your mother always told you not to go down in the hellhole city of social media. That is NBA Twitter. I found 3 tweets on my timeline, and Kwab and I are here to talk about them. Don't laugh. You know that's exactly what NBA Twitter is, the role that NBA Twitter plays in the social media sphere. Am I wrong?
Am I wrong? That's what makes it greater. What an intro. Golly.
Right. Let's go to the first tweet. And it's from Vada_fly. He's embedded a video. Said, Shorty definitely ain't told someone she was at the Nets game with a brother. And I'm going to play the video right here. First, I'm showing you the tweet. But now I'm going to show you the video. This is basically when they have was it like League Pass shows you like
League Pass shows you, on the what's going on the jumbotron in the arena.
Yeah. So here we go. I'm gonna play the video for you, and then I'm gonna break this down for people so that we don't have these situations ever again.
Why is this slow down? You put it on the Summer Jam screen.
Hold on. Here we go. She's on a Summer Jam screen right now. So basically, it's halftime right now. The camera's panning, and for some reason, the camera operator decided to zoom in on them. And she's embarrassed. Look how embarrassed. Why is she embarrassed? I understand that some people don't like being on camera, but she was like petrified to like be on camera. And a lot of people have theories that the reason why people like this, whether a girl or guy, are embarrassed to be on camera is because they're with somebody who they're not supposed to be.
They're not supposed to be.
I don't want to make judgments on this. I have no idea who she is. I don't know her life. I don't know your life, lady. So I'm not going to make any judgments. But what I am going to say, for future reference, for anybody who's going to a game that they should not be at with someone of the opposite sex or someone who you might be interested in romantically that your significant other doesn't know about.
Hey, yo.
If you get caught on camera, it's simple. Don't hide. Don't do this.
Give him the cheat code.
High five. High five. What's more platonic than a high five? What is less guilty than a high? Like, oh, snap. Yeah, we're on camera. Yay. No hug. No pretending like you don't see it. It's, oh, this is my friend. High five.
Oh, this is just the person that happens to be sitting next to me randomly. I don't know them.
Exactly.
I'm just here about myself.
Oh, snap. We're on camera together. High five.
Yeah, the only problem with that is like when you caught in HD and most of the time they have their arms around the person.
But
and the camera pans. Yeah, what are you gonna do about like you're comfortable. You're just here's the easy thing. Stop going to games with people you're not supposed to go to games with. You're gonna get caught, bro. There's cameras everywhere. Stop going to places you're not supposed to go with other people you're not supposed to go with, brother. It's just that simple. Why are you're just out there in the public like, yeah, nah, they're gonna put you on the big screen. Somebody's gonna capture it on camera.
Just don't do it.
Blow up. Just don't do it.
Just don't do it. That's true.
Every every night I watch games, I watch League Pass. I see at least once I catch a moment like that. And it's always the most like it's random, like, yep, guilty. It's in there, guilty. My Judge Judy, guilty.
Oh my goodness. Oh man, yeah, that's actually probably the better option than what I said. But if you do go, if you do go,
high five method.
High five method. All right, let's move on to the next tweet. It comes from, that is not the tweet. That is the tweet. Hold on, let me just, I'll just again. All right, let's move on to the next tweet. It comes from Justin Tremaine, Justin Tremaine, probably, at Tremaine Radio. And he says, Clippers sitting Paul George and Kawhi in overtime? You know they'll sit them tomorrow as well. What's the point of even playing the season? What a joke. Now, I didn't watch the Clipper Magic game, but I did read up on it. They went into overtime against the Orlando Magic, and then Ty Lue sat Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Apparently, Kawhi did come in with about a minute left, but still, that is kind of ridiculous. I agree with this. You know, I understand there's limits, and I understand there's minute restrictions. I understand that there's rest and load management and all this, but this is a game that is in the balance. You're going into overtime, for crying out loud.
If you
get the W.
If you can't beat Bol in regular time, you don't deserve to beat Bol in overtime, brother.
Don't you dare disrespect Bol like that.
I'm not disrespecting Bol. I just think I watched some of the game. I watched early on the game. The Clippers had a sizable lead, so like
they were up by a lot. Yeah.
I changed the channel, kind of not thinking. And the Magic made a run because the Magic they play hard throughout the whole game. So I have no problem with sitting them because because you're both coming off injuries. Like, I get it.
But they're always coming off injury. Kawhi has literally been on injured reserve for the past 3 years.
And they're probably on minutes restriction.
Kawhi's always on a minute restriction.
Exactly. So you want
why play him?
So do you want them to go over the minutes restriction to play an overtime game against the Magic when you're supposed to be the one of the most deepest teams in the league?
This is what I said about the Lakers. I'm going to say the same thing about the Clippers. At some point, you need some type of consistency. You need some type of camaraderie. You need some type of chemistry. And all this is doing is preventing that. Honestly, all this is doing is making it worse. This is an opportunity for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard to play in a tight game together and figure out some type of offense together. You're doing it against the Orlando Magic. I understand that, but it's still something. And I understand that they beat the Charlotte Hornets the game before that. You know, Kawhi Leonard had a game-winning jumper, but you got to build off of that. You can't just be fine with that. Your team has to start winning games. Right now, you're a playing team, not even a playoff team. So for you to have this attitude, well, we'll see him in the playoffs. When we get to the playoffs, it'll change. First of all, you're not a 1 seed. You're not a 2 seed right now. You're not a 3 seed. You're not a 4 seed. You're a playing team right now. Be a top 4 seed before you start doing this stuff. You know what I mean? Get there first, then rest people. Get there first, lock in a top 4 seed, home court advantage, and then rest Paul George and Kawhi Leonard before you take this high road of we're going to be in the playoffs anyway, and we're resting for the playoffs. No, get there.
No. Well, okay, so you don't think that they don't have enough time to make the playoffs?
I obviously have enough time to make the playoffs, and
that's one.
They probably will make the playoffs, but you're going to go into the playoffs as a 6 seed without any chemistry whatsoever. You're going to get bounced in the first round.
Okay, that's one too. You don't think they have enough time to build chemistry as the players get more healthy as they progress throughout the season?
My thing with that, if this was their first year with them together, I'd be like, all right, this is year 1. But this is literally year 3, Kwab, and they're just delaying this stuff. Clipper fan, I can't imagine what it's like being a Clipper fan living in Los Angeles when the Lakers get all the attention. You have this roster right here that is better than the Lakers roster that gets no respect whatsoever. And then the 2 stars just can't get on the same page or on the court at the same time. And it's been 3 years. Like I said, this isn't year 1 where it's let's take this slowly and see what happens. No, this is year 3 that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have been on the same team. And we're still here no, not yet. No, not yet. Come on, man. At some point, you kind of have to get the ball rolling here.
I think part of it also has to do with Ty Lue having because I remember it was the same, not same, but it was similar thing with when he was coaching the Cavs and they weren't a high seed, but they were just when we get we're gonna make the playoffs, and when we get there, we'll turn on the switch. So I think they probably all have that mentality. I completely understand what you're saying, though. I feel like they have enough time, but I'm also not a Clippers fan, so I think they're probably in like
Yeah.
most frustrating hell ever. They're just mad every game because it's like
Yeah, and then also like flip the switch. Like if you're the Warriors and you want to tell me that, okay, fine, you're the Warriors. I've seen it happen.
Yep.
You know, if you're the Celtics, you went to the finals last year. You've been in the Eastern Conference Finals 3 out of 4. Okay, you get that pass from me. If even LeBron gets that pass from me to a certain extent. My thing with the Lakers is not so much that LeBron's missing games; it's his age, and AD kind of misses games too. So it's more of like a combination of both. But like, what has this Clippers team done to deserve this benefit of the doubt and this?
Kawhi doesn't get that pass from him. Mr. Robot doesn't get that pass from him.
How dare you compare him to Elliot Alderson?
I knew it.
Are you serious right now?
Reaction from you. I knew I was going to.
We're moving on to the next tweet. Oh my God, I'm disgusted with you. From LeBron is life at TBN or TBE Natural. He says Celtics best team in the league and it ain't even close. You know what's funny, Kwab? I was thinking about the rundown today and I was like, we're a quarter into the season. This is the first time I think I've talked about the Celtics, and they've been like far and away the best team in the league. I agree with this tweet. The Celtics are the best team in the league. I don't think it's even close right now. The way they've been playing basketball, they blew the doors off the Suns tonight. Last year there was all about their defense, and the offense was there too. But the offense was there kind of in spurts when they got hot from three. Now nobody seems to be able to know what to do with their offense. Jayson Tatum has taken a step forward and is an MVP candidate, is an MVP frontrunner. To me, I don't think it's close. I mean, I think you can argue that the Warriors' ceiling, is probably just as high as the Celtics ceiling, and maybe there's another team or two like the Bucks. And I know I just dissed the hell of the Clippers, but their ceiling, maybe the Clippers that can kind of like get there. But right now, the Celtics are the best team in the league. It's not even close.
Yeah, it's like I gotta say something positive about Boston. Yeah, I agree with that. Just because, for example, like when I was watching them play against the Nets, and it was a semi-close. It was a close game throughout the course of the game. But the Celtics capitalized on every little mistake you make, and you saw that tonight when they played the Suns. Like any turnover, any mistake you make, they capitalize on it. And the NBA is crazy because when the season started, or preseason started, nobody would have said, "Oh, the Celtics are going to be the best team in the league," because of all the drama that we all.
I was one of them.
Yeah, I was right there too, because it was just like, "Yo, what is going on in Boston? Like with the coaching situation?" And you were just like, "I don't see this. I don't know how they're going to be able to maintain the same type of." What are you going to say?
But then they handled it internally.
They did it. They didn't handle it internally. They put out that weird ass message.
No, that's right. They did it, but they hired internally. But no, they put out the weird ass message.
They're like, Udoka's suspended. ... It was a bunch of ...
Peace.
And it just led to a lot of speculation, which was messed. But that's a whole other story. But even with that, and then Robert Williams being out, who's your best defender?
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about. Like your best rim protector and like vertical spacer, like he hasn't played a single game. They lost Danilo for the whole season, who I thought
he was a Celtic.
I thought that was a great pickup. I'm like, I thought that was a great pickup for them. He hasn't. They lost him for the whole season.
Brogdon's been big, getting another guard who can just
get another great. He's been great for them. So, like,
Derek White's been playing well this year too. He's another one. They just been killing it, man. They're the best team in the league. It's not even close.
What's his name's been playing well with? Grant Williams, the linebacker.
The linebacker.
Just out there tackling people. But he's been playing. Everybody's been playing well. They've been shooting well. Offense and their defense has still been great. So I hope they get blown out in the playoffs. That's a bitter Nets. I hope they get blown out in the playoffs.
I am with you, man. All right. And on that note, let's end the show. Kwab, thanks for coming on the show once again. You're practically a co-host by now. You can follow him at Kwab Yes Music on Twitter, on Instagram.
No, that's not my Twitter. That's not my those are not my
Did you change it?
No, those are my socials. It's Kwab AKAS. That's it's been.
Bro, it's always been Kwab Yes Music.
Go look right now. Look on your phone right now.
That's embarrassing.
Go look on your phone right now.
I'm not looking at my phone.
Go look at your phone when you at me.
No, we're doing this live. We're
When you
doing,
at me. When you
Nah,
at
bro.
me.
We're doing this live.
Yeah. When you at me on the.
We're doing this live. We're doing this live. Kwab. You can follow him at Kwab, aka Yes. Are you serious right now? You're always Kwab, aka Yes.
Yeah, those always been my socials.
That's humiliating, Josh.
No, it's not.
It's humiliating.
No, it's
Wow.
not.
Well, I pretty sure I'm at Josh_Rodriguez_. The Dime's account's at the Dime NBA. That's on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and also you can find that handle on YouTube as well. So the full episodes go up on the Balls Life Podcast Network, but I do cut segments from the show and put them on the Dive YouTube channel. So if you do have a YouTube channel or on YouTube, please subscribe. It helps the show out a lot, helps it get noticed. Have another guest next week, so tune in for that. And until next week, I will see you for another episode of The Dime. Peace!
Peace.